Welcome to Key Ideas. In this video, we'll be talking about three key ideas that really resonated with me from the book Dopamine Nation. And I have complemented these ideas with ideas of my own and ideas from other books like it. Similar to what I described in my previous video, we are living in an era saturated with temptation, and we quickly get accustomed to this abundance that surrounds us, and this all too often leads to overconsumption. And all these temptations have one thing in common. They're very efficient at stimulating dopamine in the brain. Now combine this with the urge to numb ourselves from the stress that we often feel in our everyday lives, which dopaminergic activities are very effective at. And it becomes very, very difficult to avoid falling into this trap of overconsumption. But this numbing effect of dopaminergic activities are very short-lived, and this is where the repetitive nature of this spiral comes in. Lastly, the more we repeat dopaminergic activities, the less effective they become, which means that if you're not careful to control yourself, you will indulge in ever increasing forms of this activity just to achieve the same high. So, how do you avoid falling into this trap? Finding the right pain and pleasure balance is key to controlling yourself in order to live a healthy and balanced life. And that's what this book is all about. So, let's get into the key ideas. Idea number one: everyone is at severe risk of developing a pleasure addiction, but seeking pleasure leads to pain. Broadly speaking, addiction is a sustained compulsive use of a substance or behavior, such as gambling, sex, or video games. But really, anything can be an addiction. A major risk factor for developing an addiction is easy access. And we have easy access to a plethora of pleasurable experiences. Our food is more addictive. Our technology is ever more engaging with social media, streaming, or video games. Drugs are continuing to become more and more potent and available. And most of these things are right at our fingertips. But there is a very sinister and often overlooked effect of engaging in these activities too often. Part of the reason why they feel so good is because they serve as an effective distraction from our worries and lowers anxiety. But when the distraction is over, the worries come right back, but with an increased effect, which can lead to an urge to repeat it again and again in order to escape. But of course, this only delays the inevitable. In this way, trying to cover up our problems with pleasure only leads to misery. This is a key notion and probably the most important takeaway from this book. The brain regions that process pleasure and pain in the brain work in balance with each other. If you experience something pleasurable, your brain reflexively kicks in to balance it out, and eventually it tips back to the side of pain equal to the amount of pleasure experienced. Attempting to alleviate this pain with more pleasure will very quickly have a diminished effect and will certainly lead to overconsumption just to cover up the pain. The good news is that if you simply wait a bit, the brain will balance itself out. Think of it this way: this line represents your baseline dopamine levels, meaning that you feel normal, not good, not bad, just fine. Now imagine that you have a pleasurable experience and your dopamine levels go up like this. Eventually, the experience is over and your dopamine drops back down, but it keeps going down because of your brain's reflexive balancing, and it will typically drop down below baseline equal to the amount it went above baseline. Thankfully, this reflexive balancing will also bring itself back to baseline again, making you feel normal after a period of discomfort. When this is the case, you can quickly keep on going, living your life like nothing happened. The problem arises if you choose to indulge in a dopamine spike too much or too often, especially if it is to avoid the inevitable pain response. Binge watching television is an example most people can relate to. The first episode usually feels really entertaining, but after watching for a while, you almost don't feel any pleasure from it anymore. But you keep watching because stopping feels painful. When you finally stop, there should naturally be a period of discomfort in order to bring the pain pleasure balance back to equal level. If you don't allow this to happen, for example, by spiking your dopamine again with a different thing, such as your phone, food, drugs, etc., you will keep pushing the balance toward pain with ever less rewarding feelings from your behavior, and normal activities begin to feel painful. This is why addicts increase their consumption over time, and if this keeps going for too long, it can push the balance so far to the side of pain that it feels very, very painful to stop, even too painful. And this is even though the pleasure is gone. Knowing when to stop and allowing the pain to be felt is key to safeguarding yourself from overconsumption and addiction. Idea number two: your pain pleasure balance is likely tipped towards pain, making everything in your life harder than it should be. In this world of abundance, it is very common that our pain pleasure balance is tipped towards pain as we constantly engage in our favorite things. And this can leave us never really feeling satisfied. But if you realize that the opposite is also true, which is that experiencing pain can help tip back the balance, this can actually help us overcome our challenges. When we remember that experiencing discomfort can help us achieve a profound sense of satisfaction, we can put a positive label on our struggles, allowing us to face the pain and do it anyway. At the same time, it can remind us that avoiding pain is a really bad long term strategy for any part of your life. And this idea actually goes very well with an idea from my previous video, which was whatever you do in life will be a struggle. Choosing what to struggle with is the real question. If you want to watch this video, I have put a link to it in the description. If you accept that struggle is unavoidable and you're careful about choosing your struggle, you will be able to envelop your struggle with a sense of purpose and meaning, increasing your chances to stick with it through the tough path. Now, coming back to the point about the pain and pleasure balance, if you already find that your balance might be tipped towards pain by excessive pleasure seeking, then abstinence can actually be its own form of pain to recover this balance. Abstinence from entertainment is called boredom, abstinence from food is called cravings, etc. But they all describe the same thing, which is that our pain pleasure balance is going from below baseline, which is pain, and back to normal. So, allowing yourself to experience the pain of boredom or cravings without alleviating it is the key to resetting your pain pleasure balance back to normal. Resetting this balance will make it easier for you to do quote unquote hard things such as cleaning your space, exercising, studying, and eating healthy, and all the other things that you know that you want to do but may be struggling with. Another key point is that abstinence can lead to insight. Abstaining from something that you might be overconsuming will show you how addicted to it you actually are, which can bolster your resolve to free yourself from it. Anna, the author, recommends that you try a 30-day abstinence to see the results. Of course, assuming that this is not life threatening as it can be with an addiction to alcohol, opioids, or benzodiazepines. Idea number three: the pain pleasure balance works both ways. Tipping the scales towards pain can ultimately lead to pleasure. Not only can pain help us tip back the balance to a normal level, it can actually tip the balance towards pleasure. Doing something that is difficult is not only rewarding because of the accomplishment that comes with it, but also because going through the pain will increase your sensitivity to pleasure. Most of us have experienced this in one form or the other. Just think about wanting something for a while. The longer you waited for it, the better it felt once you got it. For example, needing to pee for a while makes it very pleasurable once you can actually relieve yourself. Now, of course, I don't recommend that you hold it in just to increase the pleasure of peeing, but what if you chose to experience a positive or productive type of pain? Examples of such positive or productive types of pain are the examples that I mentioned earlier, such as studying and working out and eating healthy, which might actually, improve your life. Anyways, so the next time you consider skipping a workout or procrastinating on the studying that you need to do, I urge you to remember that going through with it is not in vain and will help you achieve a better balance in your pain and pleasure balance. So these are the ideas that really resonated with me from the book Dopamine Nation by Anna Lembke. And what do you think about this? Please leave a comment and like and subscribe if you want to see more of this. And thank you so much for watching.